You have a job, a car, an apartment. From the outside, you look fine. But the bills don't add up and there's nothing left at the end of the month. One repair, one medical bill, one missed shift, and it all falls apart. You don't look broke, but you are. 40 million Americans are living this reality, and the government says every single one of them is doing just fine. Maya clocks in at the daycare just after sunrise. She's been up since 5 in the morning, packing her son's lunch and checking her phone for any new alerts. Her calendar is color-coded, blue for work shifts, red for bills, yellow for reminders to call the landlord. The first paycheck of the month arrives and almost immediately dissolves $1,200 for rent, paid online before breakfast. The confirmation email feels less like relief and more like a warning. The account balance shrinks, but the month is just beginning. Groceries are next. Maya walks the aisles with a calculator app open, subtracting each item as it lands in the cart. The goal is to keep the total under $80, but prices have crept up. She skips the snack aisle and puts back the name brand cereal. Later, she will transfer $25 to her mom for gas money, a routine exchange that never appears on any official budget. Mid-month, a notice from the electric company arrives, $150 due by Friday. She schedules the payment, then checks her bank app. The balance is lower than she expected. A credit card payment is due in 3 days, but there is barely enough to cover it. She debates which bill can wait. The phone buzzes with a text from her son's school about a field trip fee. She sighs, adds it to her running list, and hopes that next week's overtime will cover the gap. By the 3rd week, groceries run thin. Maya stretches leftovers, skips a few meals, and puts off filling a prescription. She scrolls through her transaction history, searching for any forgotten deposit or refund. Nothing. The final Friday arrives, and her checking account reads $17. The rent for next month is already looming. She checks her credit card app, limit nearly maxed, payment due in 5 days. No savings, no cushion, just a string of digital reminders and a mental tally of what can wait until next month. From the outside, Maya's life looks steady. She clocks in, pays her bills, keeps her son fed and clothed. But the numbers never add up. Every month ends the same way: empty balance, mounting anxiety, and the quiet knowledge that one small shock, like a car repair, a sick day, or a missed shift, could send everything spiraling. This is not a temporary setback or a personal failing. It's the math of survival in a world where doing everything right still leaves you on the edge. The official poverty line in the United States was never designed to measure the real cost of living. It traces back to the early 1960s when a government economist named Molly Orshansky tried to answer a simple question: how little could a family spend and still survive? She started with the cheapest possible food plan available at the time, the so-called Thrifty Food Plan. In 1963, that meant about $1,033 a year to feed a family. Surveys then showed that food made up about 1/3 of a typical household's expenses. So Orshansky multiplied the food budget by 3. The result became the first federal poverty threshold. In 1969, the federal government adopted this formula as the official line, and every year since, the number has been adjusted for inflation, but not for the way American budgets have changed. Today, the Census Bureau still relies on this structure. For 2024, the poverty threshold is $16,320 for a single adult and $31,812 for a family of 4. If your household earns even $1 above those numbers, you are officially not poor, at least on paper. But these thresholds count only pre-tax cash income. They ignore non-cash benefits like food stamps, housing vouchers, or tax credits. They also ignore the biggest costs of modern life: rent, medical bills, childcare, and transportation. The formula assumes food is still 1/3 of a family's budget, even though in reality it is now closer to 1/8. Housing, healthcare, and childcare have taken up the slack, but the poverty line has not kept up. The result is a statistical mirage. Millions of working adults, people with jobs, apartments, and children, are counted as fine by official numbers, even as they struggle to pay for essentials. The promise was clear: work hard, stay employed, and you will be secure. But the math behind that promise is stuck in the past. The poverty line, meant to draw a boundary between hardship and stability, now leaves out the very costs that define survival in 2024. For many, the numbers on government charts say stability, while the numbers in their checking account say something very different. There is a name for the gap between how things look and how they feel: ALICE. It stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. Nearly 40 million households, about 29% of the country, fit this description. When you add in those below the official poverty line, the total rises to 42% of all U.S. households living without enough to cover the basics. These are people with jobs who pay taxes and rent, who keep up appearances but are always one bill away from disaster. The numbers behind ALICE are stark. Since 2020, average housing costs have jumped 28%. Groceries are up 25%. Healthcare premiums and out-of-pocket costs keep climbing, often outpacing raises at work. The result is a monthly budget that never balances. For a typical ALICE household, take-home pay might be $2,400. Rent claims $1,200. Groceries, $700. Childcare, $600. Transportation, $200. Add $150 for healthcare, $150 for utilities, and $150 for debt payments. That is $3,150 in monthly expenses, $800 more than the paycheck covers. This is not about poor choices or lack of effort. It is a national math problem, one that repeats in millions of ledgers like Maya's. The official poverty line says she is fine. The reality is a life spent juggling bills, stretching leftovers, and hoping the car keeps running. ALICE is the missing category, the people who did everything right, but the numbers still do not work. A steady job used to mean security. Now, it often means a juggling act that no one else sees. Bills get paid, groceries appear in the fridge, kids go to school with lunch in their backpacks. On the surface, everything looks fine. But behind the scenes, the cracks widen. Most Americans, 78%, live paycheck to paycheck. That includes people with full-time work, decent titles, and even 2 incomes at home. The numbers do not show up in the official poverty count, but they show up in the notifications on Maya's phone. Credit card payment due in 3 days. Buy now, pay later. Offer expiring. Each alert is a reminder that the margin for error is shrinking. Credit has become a lifeline and a mask. National credit card balances have hit record highs, topping $1 trillion. Delinquency rates have reached 3.1%, the highest in over a decade. Buy now, pay later apps promise breathing room, but really just push the pressure into next month. Social media makes it easy to keep up appearances. A new outfit, a weekend outing, a birthday dinner. All can be paid for with a swipe, even if the bill goes unpaid. The shame of falling behind keeps people silent, pretending that everything is under control. With no savings, every small setback, an overdraft fee, a late payment, a surprise medical bill can start a chain reaction. The tools that help people cope also deepen the risk. It is a hidden strain built into the system, and it touches far more people than anyone would guess. A single moment can undo months of careful planning. For Maya, it is a fever and a cough that will not quit. The doctor says it is nothing serious, but the prescription and a follow-up visit add up to $120 out of pocket. Her insurance covers some, but not all. The bill lands the same week her car's check engine light comes on. The mechanic's estimate is $400 for a repair she cannot ignore if she wants to keep her job. There is no savings to draw from. The credit card is nearly maxed. She tries to shuffle payments, but by the end of the week, her account is overdrawn. Rent is due in 3 days. Maya is not alone. Each year, 7.4 million Americans are pushed into poverty by medical expenses. People who work, who have insurance, who do everything right. The federal minimum wage has been frozen at $7.25 since 2009. Adjusted for inflation, that wage is worth 40% less than it was in 1970. Even a full-time job cannot guarantee stability. Nearly 3 million Americans work full-time year-round and still fall below the poverty line. The promise that work would be enough has quietly unraveled. This is the paradox of the working poor. Paychecks come in, bills go out, but the math never works. The official statistics say Maya is fine. The reality is a life where one prescription, one repair, one missed shift can trigger a free fall. The system counts her as secure, but her lived experience tells a different story, one defined by risk, not safety. You work hard, follow the rules, and still watch the basics slip out of reach. In 2024, over 40% of working Americans live above the poverty line, but below true stability. The system insists you're fine, your empty wallet proves otherwise. Being seen starts with being counted. What do you see?